Welcome back to News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we are making sense of the news. This is the Vince Coglianese Show. I'm not Vince. No, I'm Vince's producer, Corey Inganamort. It's a great honor to be with you here this afternoon. I just said we got some somewhat breaking news. I think I can call it breaking news. A video was just leaked by Sherelle Parker, the mayor of Philadelphia, congratulating and rooting for Kamala Harris and her VP choice, Josh Shapiro. This video was leaked, according to Ernest Owens. He's a reporter for Philly Mag. He says that this video was supposed to go out on Monday, but it was posted today. Some staffer is going to get fired. That poor staffer tweets the big surprise. We know Kamala Harris can't keep a secret. Donald Trump had no problem with this leaking. Wow. Let's talk about the race, where things stand. Donald Trump, J.D. Vance versus Kamala Harris and apparently Josh Shapiro. Let's talk with Ryan Girdusky now. He's the founder of the 1776 Project, Political Action Committee, and he joins me on the phone right now. Ryan, thanks for joining.
Hey, how are you? Sorry about all the rain in the background, but how are you doing, Corey?
I'm doing great. We're having fun here, filling in for the great Vince Coglianese. Did you see that news? Did you see that video that just leaked?
I did. I just saw it, yes. That when she leaked that he is the VP. I mean, it would definitely be her strongest VP pick, but, you know, they believe that he would make Pennsylvania much more likely, Pennsylvania being the pivot state this election cycle. But you never know. I mean, listen, Paul Ryan couldn't guarantee Wisconsin for Mitt Romney. There have been other vice presidents who've lost their state. Ferrara back in 1984 couldn't even guarantee New York for the Democrats. So VPs have lost their own state before. It's not unprecedented.
Right. And I was watching Nate Silver the other day. He says at max, he believes that a vice presidential candidate may influence their home state up to about 0.4 percentage points.
Right. I mean, it's won or lost by the president.
Yeah, of course. But you look at Pennsylvania, that is the pivotal state. I think Democrats do not have a path if they lose Pennsylvania. Donald Trump still, I think, does if he picks off one of Michigan or Wisconsin, but 0.4 percentage swing with Josh Shapiro, who's currently got a 61% approval rating in Pennsylvania. So what do you think? Does this improve, not improve, really stays the same?
Well, I mean, if Josh Shapiro, once again, we don't know, but if Josh Shapiro is the vice president, it definitely improves Kamala Harris's chances, certainly, of trying to get into the presidency. If Republicans lose Pennsylvania, there is still a path. It does make it much, much harder. And certainly polls since Kamala Harris became the nominee have tightened substantially. I mean, Georgia is much closer than it should be, and he's fallen a little behind in Wisconsin and Michigan. But once again, not so badly where he can't come back from that. The thing about Shapiro is very left. Shapiro has sat there and said things supporting transgender women in female sports, biological men in female sports. He has been super anti-school choice. He is killed the budget that would have had school choice expansion in it. I mean, he's a fake moderate in many, many cases, and he was the attorney general at the time that homicides were exploding after BLM. So there's a lot to work with against Shapiro. He's not a absolutely guarantee home run person.
Yeah, school choice was a position. He supported school choice when he ran for governor, and then he completely abandoned that when he got into office. He completely lied to all of his voters to get in there. And he's like, I changed my mind because, I don't know, maybe the lobbyists or whomever got to him. He tweeted, he tweeted word for word, trans women are women. So he clearly supports men beating up women in a boxing ring or a swimming pool or whatever it stands for. So he is pretty extreme. I think most VP candidates, like Mike Pence, for example, or Paul Ryan or whomever, a presidential candidate kind of picks a VP based on someone who won't overshadow them. They won't take all the spotlights or the media coverage. In this case, do you think it might benefit Kamala Harris to have someone who is actually quite draws a crowd? He's well-spoken. Could Kamala Harris potentially just kind of give him the limelight and maybe take away from her negatives?
Well, I mean, there's also a big question when it comes to Shapiro in the Democratic primary because he is a conservative Jew, and the Democrats are becoming increasingly intolerant of Jewish people.
Mm-hmm.
He does believe in Israel's right to exist, although he's a very large critic of Benjamin Netanyahu, which is where a lot of Jews are. But being a Zionist is going to absolutely impact them with certain voters who already feel like the Biden-Harris administration has been too pro-Israel. And I think in college, something like that, he wrote, which is not that long ago, he's not that old, but in college he wrote that basically they could not figure out a way to live with Palestinians. It was a very anti-Palestinian conversation. When you juxtapose that with the millions of Muslims and very far left radicals in this country, in places like Michigan, and not only Michigan, but remember, there's also 200,000 Muslims in Georgia, you might end up making things a little harder for Harris if he speaks up too much, depending on the question, because that question will probably come up at one point or the other, is what is his position on Israel, which is so divisive right now inside the Democratic Party.
Right. I already see the TikTok crowd and the Twitter crowd. They're not happy with this, the young pro-Hamas crowd. We'll see how this affects. I didn't realize that Georgia had a quite a large Muslim
Here's why people are not people are undercounting the Muslim population, because when they poll, they usually ask Arab Muslims. Mm-hmm. There are millions of Black Muslims in this country mm-hmm. that are not part of, that didn't immigrate here, that they converted over time. Georgia has a very large Muslim population. They only think of places like Dearborn, Michigan, but Georgia does. There's a lot of Muslims in the South and in critical swing states. And there's also a lot of, very far left white liberals who have all the same beliefs when it comes to Palestine.
Interesting. I did not know that. Georgia too. We obviously know Michigan has quite a dense Muslim population in Dearborn and et cetera. Let's zoom out a little bit on this race. So Kamala Harris, the coup has been completed. She hasn't, this took place about 12 days ago. She's officially going to be the nominee on Monday when they do a virtual roll call. Things are getting close to election day right now, and we still haven't heard from Kamala taking any questions, doing a press conference. Are you concerned with how condensed this schedule is? Because Kamala Harris, in all intents and purposes, it's about a toss-up right now. She hasn't gotten her VP pick bump, which will likely take place shortly, and it's usually short-lived. Then she'll get a DNC convention bump. That may be short-lived. But 4 weeks after that, early voting starts in states like Pennsylvania and North Carolina. Are we running out of time to get Kamala Harris to actually answer questions?
North Carolina and Virginia does. Pennsylvania has almost no early voting. Some mail-in ballots go out. But
on the 20th, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The thing is that, yes, time is of the essence, and it's not working necessarily in Trump's favor. He has not won the news cycle in the last 2 weeks. But things have fluctuated, but that doesn't mean that's where they're going to land necessarily. There's been a lot of polling. Very little of it is high quality polling. So I would sit there and say anyone who reads morning consult, it's a joke of a pollster. You shouldn't get excited over it. It's worthless. It's not worth the paper it's not printed on.
They had Harris up 11 in Michigan, I think, on their last poll.
Yes, she was winning Michigan by 11, but losing Pennsylvania by 5.
Yeah, that
and she was winning
happen.
the non-college educated white vote in Michigan.
Okay, throw that one away.
No, but there are certain polling firms that are internet polling firms. They're not that great. Of the high-quality firms that there are, a lot of them have not come out with state polling. A lot of them have maybe had one national poll, which showed a tight race, which is where we know it's going to be. I think the question of how can they pivot to sit there and talk about Kamala's record? How can they win the news cycle? What Trump understood so brilliantly in 2016 was you can have no ground game at all, but if you win the news cycle, that's what really matters. I will also say one other thing when it comes to the polls. Remember, Trump has always overperformed polling in the Midwest. The only state that polling has been fairly accurate was Pennsylvania, both in 16 and 20. But in Michigan and Wisconsin, they were very, very far off, as in Nevada as well. So I would not hyperventilate over which way polling is as of right now. I think right now they have to really start winning the news cycle. Talk about Harris's record. Talk about what is going on today under this administration. For example, and this is what I would bring up if I was talking to the Trump Vance campaign, we are going to see, it was in the New York Times, I think, last week, we're going to see the last American factory that makes amoxicillin close. It's in Tennessee. All generic manufacturers of generic drugs are closing in this country under Biden-Harris. Yeah. We are more dependent now on China and India than we were even before COVID. This is on them. Speak to the issues that voters care about and stop getting lost in a lot of minutia, which is what they've been doing. But they can win the news cycle still, and eventually she's going to have to answer a question. She can't hide forever. She can't run a basement campaign like Joe Biden did in 2020.
I sure hope that's the case. I worry the media is not going to pressure her until the election, and we can talk about issues. And yes, Donald Trump should be pounding the issues right now. But unless Kamala Harris is asked to defend her record and the stances that she took in 2020 while running for president, people didn't even get to really learn who she was because she didn't even make it to Iowa. And then she's been hidden in this role as VP because, well, they're embarrassed by her, so she hasn't even gotten to talk about it. There hasn't been a media outlet on record in the past weeks to actually get her to defend her previous
she hasn't
records.
Been anywhere. She did one statement anywhere, and she fumbled it, and that was like 2 days ago or last night, where she talked about Joe Biden. Yeah, they have to answer. They have to ask her questions, and the media, by the way, even the liberal journals, were very frustrated about the lack of access that Joe Biden gave to them. And after Joe Biden hid his health for so long, I don't believe they're going to allow Kamala to hide everything. Not that they think she has a health scare, obviously. She's a much younger person. But I don't think they're going to accept another Democratic administration just not granting them any access. And if there's a debate, obviously people have to answer questions. And you know what, for as far as the presidential debates go, the last few moderators were very fair in their questions to both Joe and Trump. And hopefully the next time if there is a debate, they'll be fair to Kamala and Trump.
Right. So Donald Trump has been kind of all over the place on this debate. He said he couldn't wait to challenge Kamala Harris to a debate. He'll debate. I saw this morning he was on Maria Bartiromo. He said, "Why should I debate? I'm leading in all the polls." What does Ryan Girdusky think? Should Donald Trump get Kamala Harris to debate, and how often?
I think maybe one debate might be appropriate. It's up to them. I don't think they're that worried about the polling because it is it's moving very quickly and it's changing as people are seeing different things. I think that if he can win a news cycle and start really hammering home, I think that there's a chance that he may not avoid a debate. I mean, she was picked without a single vote. I think she definitely is the first candidate in modern history to get picked without a single person voting for her. So his claims that she is not legitimate, there's some merit to it. But at the same time, she will be on the ballot. And if they need to sit there and she's refusing to speak to the media, maybe the only way to get the media to sit there and ask her a question would be a debate. So it's possible. Let's see how things shake up. I think people are getting very excited over, internet polls and things that are knee-jerk reactions or instantaneous news cycles. The Trump campaign can get back on their footing, and they can get back in the driver's seat. It's still at best a 50-50 shot for the Democrats. So the next 3 weeks, we'll see where things go.
Yeah, I think over the next week or two, Donald Trump and J.D. Vance are going to be monitoring the media and whether they do have anything scheduled with Kamala Harris. Do they have any interviews? Do they have any press conference scheduled? And if they don't, then he needs to challenge her to a debate up in front and center, as maybe more than once, but it may be before November 5th, the first time you actually get her off script. And we know that would be a disaster when she does get that way.
She's not Shakespeare when she's off script.
That's for sure. She's maybe Dr. Seuss. I think she's more of that. Right. So how long does this honeymoon period last? Is it sustainable to the election? And finally, which state do you think Donald Trump has the best chance of winning against Kamala Harris between Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin? Because he really only needs to pick off one, assuming he wins Georgia and Arizona and Nevada, depending on which Midwest state he wins.
Well, he
but
doesn't
of the
need
three,
Nevada if he wins one of the other ones. But if he even loses Nevada, but he wins Wisconsin, he still wins, or Michigan and Pennsylvania. How long the honeymoon lasts for, I'm not so sure. I mean, they have this big fascination, certainly with the VP. Let's see if the Democratic activists turn out against, if it's Shapiro, if they attack him for being Jewish, if they attack him for being a Zionist, if they attack her for switching every position that she has, which is also a question. And let's get her on the issues. And then secondly, about the state, it would be Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is the pivot state in this election. I think as goes Pennsylvania, so goes the country. Mm-hmm. So, and it's a state, by the way, that the Democratic enrollment has dropped from 600,000 to 250,000, I believe. Even like Bucks County, which is the pivotal swing county in Pennsylvania, mm-hmm. is now plurality Republican. So there are things working for Republican advantage in the state, but it's going to be very competitive, very hard. And they have to really turn out, and they can't fumble the way they have in the last two elections, and midterm elections here.
If anything, it makes Republicans not complacent. You got to get out, got to vote, got to get your friends to vote. Ryan Girdusky, brilliant mind, founder of the 1776 Project Political Action Committee. Thank you so much for your time today. We'll talk to you soon, okay?
You too.
Appreciate it. Thanks. That's Ryan Girdusky. He really is one of the, in my opinion, great political minds. I follow him on Twitter. And whenever you don't know what exactly to believe, Ryan's always got a great take. I suggest following him on Twitter. All right, we're going to get more into Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania. He's apparently the VP choice of Kamala Harris. A leaked video from the mayor of Philadelphia. Boy, they can't keep secrets over there, can they? We'll get into that in the last half hour, but I think we got time for one or two quick phone calls. Let's go to Faye in Woodbridge, Virginia. She's on line 3. Faye, welcome to the Vince Colonnade Show.
This is Faye. Yes. Hi, this is Faye. Yeah.
Go ahead, Faye.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, loud and clear.
Okay, my suggestion for a nickname for Kamala Harris would be Karl Marxella Harris.
I like that. Karl Marxella.
Karl Marxella Harris.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. She's got a lot in common with Karl Marx.
They're trying to sanitize her record right now. They're trying to sanitize her record, but we need to call her out for what she really is.
She's a Marxist. That's for sure. That's Faye in Woodbridge. Thank you so much for your call today.
Right.
More on Josh Shapiro when we get back. Your calls, 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. 535 here, News Talk 105.9 WMAL. This is the Vince Colonnade Show. I'm Corey Inganamort, filling in for my friend Vince today. Dial a program today. I plan on taking some calls here. 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. We got a few callers wanting to weigh in on Kamala Harris, what she should be nicknamed. I'm leaning towards Kamala Harris. Kami, because she's a commie. It just kind of flows off the tongue a little bit. But what do you think? 888-630-9625. Line 1, we have Chris calling in from Lynchburg. Different topic, but would love to get his perspective on something. Chris, welcome to the Vince Colonnade Show.
Hey, Corey, thanks for taking my call. It's great to chat with you.
Of course. Pleasure's mine.
Travel back in time with me for a second. It was 2012. It was about that 10 minutes that we thought Mittens was a real candidate. In my Pentagon office, I'm having a spirited discussion with the NPR Pentagon-based reporter. And we're going back and forth, and I'm just telling him, hey, people are frustrated, people are upset. And he looked at me, and without blinking, he said, Obama's going to win, and we're going to guarantee it. And he didn't mince words. He wasn't playing around. And I think it's important that we all listen to that message and heed it. They're actively involved. They're putting their finger on the scale, and it's important for all of us to be actively engaged to prevent their influence.
This is an NPR guy, you said?
This is the NPR guy, Pentagon-based reporter. We've done a couple of deployments together. He trusted me, and he looked me in the eye, and he said that.
Wow.
We're going to guarantee it.
That's your tax dollars hard at work to elect Democrats.
Indeed it is.
Yeah.
That's right.
Defund.
But they're all like that. They're all like that.
Yeah.
And they feel that way, and I knew them well enough where they let me inside in that trusted zone, and they would tell me their strategies and their thoughts, and that's how they operate.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago that NPR reporter, what was his name again? He left NPR because he said he was completely outnumbered. There was nobody even there with him, and he voiced his concern, and he had to leave because of it, because it was all just one-sided. I think it was 99% to 1, something like that. It's all Democrat talking points. Yeah. Well,
it's a shame. They had some good folks back in the day. They really did. And they deployed and they spent a lot of time overseas. But somewhere along the way, they lost their path. And this guy just looked me in the eye and said, we're going to guarantee it.
Yeah. Well, early.
That's my story, my friend.
Yeah, Yuri Berlinger. He was the guy who left NPR. I forgot his name offhand, but yeah. Thanks for that story, Chris. You got to keep your guard up and just remember where your taxpayer dollars are going to help elect Democrats. Apparently. All right, let's move on to line 5. We find Bob in Lexington. Bob, you're on the Vince Colonnade Show.
Hey, Corey. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you as well.
Throughout her career, particularly in the Senate prior to her candidacy as a VP, I've always referred to her as Shamala. Shamala.
Shamala. Shamala. Where do you put the accent on? The sham, the or the la?
Whatever your preference is, because it's all about the same, because you spell the first 4 letters the same way. S-H-A-M.
I say we emphasize the sham. Sham-Allah. Kamala the Shamala. Thank you, Bob. I like that suggestion, too. We might have to incorporate that into future shows. Pam is in Burke on line 8. She's got an idea what we should nickname Kamala Harris. Pam, go ahead. You're on the Vince Colonnade Show.
Hey, Corey. Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you.
Mine's a lot like Bob's that just called in, but it's a little bit different. Scamalot is my nickname for her.
Scamalot. Yeah, the media tries to redefine her as Camelot. They had that, what was the New Yorker cover, and everyone's it's just a fake excitement they're trying to push on her, but it is a scam. It's entirely a scam, and yes, Scamalot works well too.
Yeah. Nothing about her is authentic, and I expect nothing different from her campaign over Biden's. So it'll all be a big scam or sham, whatever you want to call it.
And so far, she's campaigning just like him in the basement. Yep. Nobody sees her anymore. Pam, thank you for the call. I appreciate you contributing this afternoon.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Brian is in Middleburg. He's on line 1. Brian, you're on the Vince Colonnade Show.
Yeah, hey, Corey, how about we call her Camellia for her being a chameleon? She changes her colors every day.
I love it. I've heard chameleon, but I like what you did. You just made it one word, camellia.
Yeah, Camellia Harris, man. She's a chameleon.
She sure is. Brian, thanks for contributing today. I appreciate your call. Let's go to line 3. We got Mark calling in from Leesburg. Mark, welcome to the Vince Colonnade Show.
Corey, you're doing a good job. I've got a friend. It's true, doctor. Her name is Pamela, just like you just had. The diminutive of her name, or what we call her, is Pammy. What's the diminutive of Kamala?
Cammy?
Kami. Kami. Don't make this difficult. Call her by her name, Kami Harris.
Kami Harris.
And if anybody questions, yeah.
Kamala, Kami Harris. I like them both, and it's very, very fitting because, after all, she is a commie. Mark, appreciate that contribution. Yeah. Let's go to line 2. We got Richard in Manassas. Richard, thanks for calling the Vince Colonnade Show.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. There was a pro wrestler back in the 80s with the WWF at the time called Kamala the Ugandan Giant. And so when I refer to Kamala Harris, I just put in quotes, the Ugandan Giant in between Kamala and Harris. So Kamala, the Ugandan Giant, Harris. And I don't know if anybody else gets that reference, but I do, and it amuses me.
As long as it amuses you, Richard, it amuses me. I don't remember that wrestler. I grew up in the 90s. I was a 90s kid. I was more of The Undertaker, Kane, The Rock. And then it all just got screwed up when they went to NWO and WWE. Nobody even knew what the heck to watch every night. Wrestling was ruined from that point on.
Yeah. But, any nickname is just about as good as the next for her because she's all over the map, just like all the nicknames can be all over the map.
And she'll pretend she's Ugandan the next Ugandan for Kamala or Kamila event that she does because, she is a chameleon. She panders to whatever group she's in front of. So I think that's a good idea. Thank you, Richard. Let's go to Michaela. She's on line 1 calling in from Silver Spring. Michaela, you're on the Vince Colonnade Show.
Hi again, Vince. Thanks for taking my call.
Hello, Michaela. This is actually Vince's producer. I'm the guy you talk to usually, and I transfer you to Vince. But thanks for joining me today.
Oh, okay.
No problem. Go ahead. What's Kamala's nickname?
Well, it aligns with the scam and con, C-O-N, well, K-O-N.
Kamala, because she's a con.
Kamala. Kamala. Not Kamala, but con.
Kamala.
Scam, she con. She's a con woman.
She sure is. She sure
No
is.
doubt.
All right, Michaela. Well, thank you for that contribution. I think we'll use that as well. Let's take a few more, and then we'll get into Josh Shapiro. Randy is on line 3. He's calling in from Frederick. He's got an opinion. Go ahead, Randy. What's on your mind?
Hey, good afternoon. You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Hey, she always cackles and laughs. I always call her Cacula Harris.
I like that one, too. How come I never thought of that one? Cacula. She's cackling Kamala, Cacula.
Have a good weekend.
All right. You too, Randy. Appreciate that. Let's see. Dave is in Newburgh, line 4. Go ahead. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show.
Hey, I believe Vince made this up. I heard it somewhere. Kamalama Ding Dong.
Kamalama Ding Dong. Yes, because Kamala is a ding dong. John Kennedy, senator from Louisiana, said that on Neil Cavuto the other day. He didn't like that too much. But what's wrong with calling somebody what they are? Kamala's a ding dong. We can say that, right?
That's right.
All right, Dave. I appreciate that call. Thanks for calling today. All right, let's get into Josh Shapiro, because it appears that he is the running mate for Kamalama Ding Dong, Kamala, Kamila, whatever we want to call her. And we're still settling on a nickname for her. But it appears that the mayor of Philadelphia put out a tweet and a video supporting Kamala Harris and Josh Shapiro way before it was supposed to go out. Reporter said that this video is supposed to go out on Monday. I guess we're going to get an official announcement on Monday, which is great because I'll be here as well. I'm filling in for Vince on the Vince Coglianese Show Monday too. We'll talk about it with you together. So Josh Shapiro is the guy. Supposedly, it's not confirmed, but it sure is looking like that. Who is Josh Shapiro? Well, he's the governor of Pennsylvania. He's popular in that state. He's got about a 61% approval rating, but he's a far leftist extremist. He's extreme. He is a guy who tweeted that trans women are women. Trans women are women. So men who think they are women are women. And we've gone through this story all the time. So he supports men punching women in a boxing ring, for example, which, by the way, happened again this morning. A Taiwanese boxer, XY chromosomes, won his fight. I'm reading from the Washington Post. He won his fight this morning, so it's happened again. The Olympics don't care. They failed their previous testosterone tests, but that doesn't matter because in the name of wokeness, we got to call them what they think that they are. But Josh Shapiro is an extremist. He thinks that's totally fine. He also apparently hid a sexual harassment claim that took place in his office. This is a scandal I think you're going to hear about a lot more. I'm reading from the Daily Mail here. Kamala Harris's top vice president pick has been dragged into a shocking sexual harassment scandal. Josh Shapiro of Pennsylvania, who's 51, he's young, I didn't realize he was that young, is in the running to take Kamala Harris's job as VP should she beat Donald Trump in November, God forbid. Harris has so far requested materials from Shapiro as part of the vetting process, yada, yada, yada. But Pennsylvania Democrat, who will be on the ticket this November, is accusing Shapiro of being involved in a cover-up and even made a shocking prediction regarding to how he might wreck Harris's campaign. Erin McClelland, she's the Democrat nominee for treasurer in the state of Pennsylvania, has caused an intra-party fight after her tweet Tuesday night endorsing North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper to be Harris's running mate. This is what she tweeted. She said, "I want a VP pick that's secure enough to be second under a woman, is content to be VP and won't undermine the president to maneuver his own election and doesn't sweep sexual harassment under the rug." So she wants a VP who doesn't sweep sexual harassment under the rug. Wait, what? Josh Shapiro has swept sexual harassment claims under the rug? Well, apparently so. She said, "I want someone that can speak to rural voters. That's Roy Cooper," even though it seems like he took himself out of the running about a week ago. After not explicitly naming him in the post, McClellan confirmed to the New York Post that she was referring to Shapiro. If I were in her situation, I would think very strongly about the difficulties that some women experience being a top-level position and having men around them that have to be satisfied with being second, third, or answering to a woman. In 2023, Shapiro's office quietly settled a $250,000, that's a lot of money, $250,000 lawsuit with a woman who accused Mike Vereb, he's a legislative liaison to the governor and decades-long ally, of sexual harassment. Vereb did not resign until 7 months after the accusation was made, and Shapiro was criticized for how he handled the incident. She said, "It really makes me angry that I have to stop talking because I'll say things I shouldn't." So that's what she said. So we'll hear about this. Apparently, Josh Shapiro pushed a $250,000 sexual harassment claim under the rug. He didn't want to talk about it, and he hid this. He hid this from people. He didn't allow anyone to speak about it. So this is the party of pro-women, apparently. They're going to select a guy who wants to hide sexual harassment claims within his office. Like I said, he's a guy who thinks trans women are women. He ran on school choice. He was supposed to be some moderate Democrat who got elected based on his very popular position on school choice. And he got into office and he reneged on all of those promises, all of them. He's a guy who is all talk and no results. The Commonwealth Foundation, a great group in Pennsylvania, they're a think tank, released this ad just a few days ago, kind of predicting that Josh Shapiro just may be the guy. Let's listen to what they say about Josh Shapiro.
Meet Governor Josh Shapiro. He promised to get stuff done, but he's failed at governing. Shapiro was even forced by his own party to veto his campaign promise of scholarships for kids trapped in failing schools. Shapiro promised to cut red tape and reduce taxes, but he hasn't delivered. He made "Get done" his slogan, but Shapiro is Pennsylvania's least effective governor in at least 50 years. Josh Shapiro. All talk, no results. Pennsylvania deserves better.
There we go. The attack ads are starting. Josh Shapiro is hitting the campaign trail for Kamala. He had some not so nice things to say about J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance, they're calling weird. He's weird because he's a father who watches football and he has a great family, and they want to destroy everything that is normal in society because the more uncomfortable they are, they want you to be just as uncomfortable and miserable and unhappy as they are. So Josh Shapiro, already campaigning for VP, this was yesterday. He says J.D. Vance is a total phony baloney because he apparently speaks like he's a 5-year-old. A phony baloney seems like a guy who reneges on all of his promises of school choice in Pennsylvania. But this is what he says.
Really bad impression of Barack Obama. What is your response to that?
J.D. Vance, actually, let me play this audio first. J.D. Vance said that Josh Shapiro sounds like Barack Obama. Take a listen to this audio and tell me he doesn't sound like Barack Obama.
Again, you could not have a clear contrast in this race.
That's Josh Shapiro. That's not Barack.
You could not have a clear contrast between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. And let me tell you something. He's pretty afraid. Y'all see, he's backing out of the debate now. He's afraid to stand toe-to-toe with our vice president.
Anyway, so J.D. Vance, somewhere, I didn't see it, he said that, Josh Shapiro is trying to sound like Barack Obama, because he is. And here's how Josh Shapiro responded to that.
Really bad impression of Barack Obama. What is your response to that?
Is that what he said? That's great. I love how we get the real-time quotes here. I mean, look, I don't know. Barack Obama was probably our most gifted orator of my time, so it's kind of a weird insult, I guess. But look, I'll say this about J.D. Vance. It is real hard being honest with the American people when you're not being honest with yourself. J.D. Vance is a total phony baloney. He is.
Anyway, that's Josh Shapiro. Get used to hearing that voice. Boy, he speaks a lot of nonsense, I'll tell you that much. J.D. Vance is going to be an asset for this campaign. Here's an example of him destroying a CNN reporter while he was visiting the border yesterday.
The former president's comments yesterday to the National Association of Black Journalists, where he said that Vice President Harris is, quote, all of a sudden black. As a father of 3 biracial children, did those comments give you pause at all?
they don't give me pause at all. Look, all he said is that Kamala Harris is a chameleon. She goes to Georgia 2 days ago. She was raised in Canada. She puts on a fake Southern accent. She is everything to everybody, and she pretends to be somebody different depending on which audience she's in front of. I think.
Yeah, there's J.D. Vance taking no prisoners. He's going to be a great asset. Hey, this was a lot of fun. Thanks for joining me, Corey Inganamort, on the Vince Coglianese Show. Such a blast spending the last 3 hours with you. I'm going to do it again on Monday. Let's do it again. The great one, Mark Levin, is up next.